working of love with the soul as the medium, and therefore we develop in terms of our ability to love one another, ability to tell the truth, ability to serve one another, and ability to be compassionate. Now, this is what I consider the fullness of a human person. And it is for this reason that love is given to us as a great gift. Of course, in course of time, you will fall in love with a boy or a girl, as the case may be. At that time, you must remember this. To be in love means to work tirelessly towards the all-round development of the person that you have accepted as your life partner. That person must develop in his body, in his mind, in his soul, and in the totality of his being. And likewise, you should allow your life partner to so minister to you that you develop this attain this all-round development. When both partners are involved in this beautiful experience of helping each other grow towards fullness of life, that relationship becomes the most beautiful relationship in the world. Therefore, my friends, let me reiterate this because it's so very important. Love is the greatest energy, the greatest force in the world that enables us to grow. And there is no duty greater at this point in your life as young people than the duty to grow. In order to grow, let's love, and let's fall in love with the dynamics of growing up. See you soon in the next unit. Good morning, my friends, and I'm so privileged to be able to spend some time with you now and then, thinking together. That's been the greatest happiness in my life. To lead a life of thinking, of reflection, and to be able to share whatever is revealed in the process of thinking and reflection with my young friends whom I so dearly love. Today, I want to suggest to you that we consider thinking about the importance of leading a simple way of life. And in doing this, I know that what I am going to say will go against the trend of the times, and that's precisely why we need to think about it. If we are living in simple times, according to simple taste, then there is no need to talk about it. We are living in very complicated times. We are living in an age of consumerism. And we are also aware of the toll it has already taken on human personality. You know, one cry I hear from all corners of the world. I've gone to many, many countries, almost all continents. Wherever I have gone, there is one cry that I hear, and that is, why is it that human stature has dwindled? Why is it that people are becoming smaller and smaller and smaller? Why is it that we look for role models and they are not to be found? We look at the global scenario. Say 50 years ago we had very outstanding statesmen. Now we have small politicians. Of course, we try to make them big and think that they are, larger than life characters. But the fact remains that they are very small people. Throughout the globe of over 7 billion people, if you look for really inspiring role models, you don't come across even a handful of them. As a Swedish author called Paul Tournier once wrote, one of the most disturbing things about this age of individualism is that it does not produce outstanding individuals. Just think about it. My question is, why is it that in spite of having everything going for us, we are becoming smaller and smaller and smaller? I am sure that no generation in human history ever before had the kind of material advantages we have today. We have everything at our fingertips. We have all time and labor saving devices. Life is comfortable and convenient. But in the midst of it all, human beings are shrinking and shriveling in their stature. We are becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. That's why we're thinking about it. Now, a great thing would be for you to become a person of stature. Imagine a situation where others look up to you, a situation in which your very presence is respected by others. And the question, of course, is how do I become that kind of a person? That's why we are reflecting on this. Something that I have discovered for myself, and something that I have practiced very zealously, uncompromisingly, is the strength of simplicity. I have led a very simple way of life. Now, when I grew up, it was a fashion in Kerala for people to go to the Middle East in search of wealth. I have 3 sisters, all 3 of them went abroad. I came under great pressure to go and make money. I took a very well considered decision that I would not go after wealth at all. I discovered for myself the most reassuring thing, and that is my needs are very limited. It's incredible. If you really think for yourself, you will understand this. Your needs are so limited, and that's a great thing. What we should really rejoice about is not that I have this or that. It is that I need very little to live. After all, how much do you need? Very little indeed. And that itself is a very liberating thought. So I have learned to lead a very simple way of life. Now, what's the advantage in leading a simple way of life? When your needs are limited, you become more free. Or let me put it differently. If you covet this, that and the other, more and more expensive gadgets, more and more comfortable circumstances, all kinds of outlandish experiences, then you become more and more dependent on others. I dare say that one of the reasons why corruption is mounting in our times is that people have lost the strength of simplicity. A person can live comfortably within his means without selling his soul or practicing corruption if he maintains a simple way of life. But that's not what people are trying to do in their life. They're trying to vie with each other in flaunting an unsustainable way of life. I not only lived a simple lifestyle, I also trained my children in the strength and the freedom of leading a simple way of life. And I can tell you that this has taken them very far in life. Now, one of the things that happens to us when we surround ourselves with a lot of these things is that we feel choked and suffocated. We feel burdened. When I was a postgraduate student in Delhi University studying in St. Stephen's College, believe you me, I had only 3 sets of clothes. And as a result, I could leave my hostel room unlocked and I could go. There was no fear of somebody coming and stealing anything because I had nothing to lose. And even today, that's the kind of lifestyle I lead. I don't have any worry about a thief coming in and taking away my things. Secondly, when you are not burdened with material things, you are free to seek higher things. And that is the most beautiful thing. Now, because I have no diversions, because I am not burdened with all kinds of material things, I am free to pursue my intellectual life. I spend much of my time reading, thinking, writing. And it's because of this that I can today stand with you and share some thoughts. So one important part of the strength that I have cultivated from my younger days is the strength of simplicity. And in our ancient thoughts on being an ideal student, this was emphasized, a simple lifestyle. In fact, one part of the simple lifestyle is what you eat and what you do not eat. Now, nowadays, of course, plenty of junk food is available. It's called fast food. Now, I've never been able to develop a taste for fast food because I know that fast food, though it tickles your taste buds, actually keeps you malnourished. Fast food is so much junk without nourishment, and it's bad for your health. Unfortunately, the eating industry, the catering industry promotes it full time. but they're not interested in your welfare. Simple food is what is best for your health. And I can tell you that if at all I eat a small piece of pizza, I will not be able to think for the next 2 hours. If I don't regulate my food intake, then I cannot concentrate when I read. So there is a direct connection between the simplicity of the lifestyle I lead and the quality of the intellectual life I maintain. So if I'm not interested in the high intellectual life, then all I'm interested in is the pleasures that the market affords. I'm not meant to be a creature of the market. I'm not a child of the market. I am a wonderful creation of God. I have a destiny that far transcends anything that man has created. And it's my duty to follow that with discipline and determination. And to be able to do that at all, it's imperative that I maintain a very simple way of life. Now, I have been in positions where anyone would have been tempted to make a lot of money. Not small money, crores and crores. But what stood me, what fortified me against all temptations, is the realization that after all my needs are so limited. I don't need any of these things. Give me my books, give me a corner, a quiet place, my day's done. Now I believe that's freedom, that's true freedom. An English poet by name Matthew Arnold talks about the sick hurry and divided aims of modern times. And he says that, the quality of life in the present time is so bad because people are not able to stay settled on anything. They're all the time rushing about. They're divided in their minds. Now let me ask you, what are we rushing about? What is this sick hurry all about? What are we running after? Let me conclude with a story, the story of a dog. This dog was an expert dog. It was called the champion dog. It was an expert in chasing and catching rabbits, and it had quite a reputation in the forest where it lived. And while it chased rabbits, other animals will come just to watch the speed and the skill with which this champion dog would chase even the most fleet-footed of rabbits and catch them. He never once had he failed. One day, when this champion dog was chasing a rabbit, for the first time, the rabbit escaped. Now, you can understand the embarrassment of this champion dog. So he went and sat under a tree, looking rather glum. And all other animals who were watching this came round and started ridiculing the dog, saying, "Hey, where is your rabbit? Where is your rabbit? Come, let's share it." So then the dog said, the rabbit escaped. So they said, "How come? How can a rabbit escape you?" So the dog said, I was running for my supper. The rabbit was running for its life. That's the difference, my friends. What are you running for? Supper or for your life? Life is always very simple. If it's for life, if you are indeed running for your life, learn to maintain a very simple way of life. One personal episode and I'll close. More than a year and a half ago, I decided not to use a cell phone. I don't have a cell phone. Do you know that the quality of my life has improved after I gave up cell phone? Not only that, I was interviewed by a newspaper on why I gave up the cell phone. An article appeared on my giving up the cell phone. If I had used the most expensive smartphone available, no newspaper would have taken notice of me. The fact that I had the discipline, commitment to simplicity of lifestyle, by which I could renounce the use of cell phone, spoke to the imagination of people. And that's the power of simplicity. Try it for yourself. But next time mom and dad want to buy something expensive for you, why don't you just step up, give them a hug and say, "Mom, Dad, I don't need it. I'm much better off without this. I'm happy with my books. I'm happy with my friends. Most of all, I'm happy with you, your love, and this wonderful home. What more do I need?" My dear friends, there is much to be said in favor of simplicity. Life is beautiful because it's simple. Let's not, under any circumstance, compromise the beauty of life. Keep it simple. Thank you. See you soon. Good morning, friends. Today, let's begin by my sharing with you an experience of mine that takes me back to April of 1994. I was in Uganda, capital of course is Kampala. I was invited to address the first Pan-African AIDS conference in which the heads of states of various African countries, sub-Saharan African countries, also participated. Now, I was staying in a hotel in Kampala, and in the evening of the second day, the speaker from the United States of America, his name was Steve, joined me at meal. In the daytime, most of the time at the conference was spent with case studies, that is, people coming from AIDS, devastated families, recounting their horrific experiences, so on and so forth. So we were at the dining table, obviously the table was well laid out with the best food you can imagine, but both of us were not hungry because our minds were still bothered about the stories of human suffering we had heard throughout the day. And Steve started talking, and what he said to me still remains burning in my mind. He said, Wilson, I have back home in the United States a 15-year-old daughter. She is my only child. But this night, I do not know where she will be. I'm worried about her safety, especially after having heard what we have heard today. I don't think I can sleep tonight. Then he stopped for a moment, thought, took a sip of water. Then he continued and he said, in the 60s and the 70s of the last century, we were very excited about creating this big, bold American society, the great American society, full of freedom, full of opportunities, and free from all conventional restraints and taboos, where no limits were ascribed to individual freedom. But today, I'm scared to think that my daughter has to grow up in this society. Now, why do I recount this actual experience to you? What comes through to me from this episode is the complete disarray of a beautiful relationship, parent-child relationship. Here is a parent sitting in a different continent at the dining table, not able to eat his dinner, worried that his daughter will not be at home and she'll be risking herself here and there. And neither the father nor the mother has any control over her. Why talk about Americans? And I've been in Delhi, I've looked after a college. I have had innumerable parents come to me day after day, week after week, with tears in their eyes, pleading with me to talk to their sons or their daughters, to counsel them, to advise them. And I would ask them, why can't you say this to them? They would say, no, they will not listen to us. In fact, we wait for them to come home from college and we greet them, and the moment we start a conversation, they get up and walk away. And there are parents who are traumatized. So this disease has come ashore to us also. The parent-child relationship today is in a state of disarray. Therefore, I thought it was worthwhile to spend a little time thinking on this. There is a teaching, and it's common to all religions: honor your father and your mother. Now it's important, it doesn't say honor your parents, it says honor your father and your mother. Many people say that religions are anti-women, but that's not what I find. Equal importance is laid on honoring your father and your mother. Now, let me sound a bit autobiographical. I did not have the joy or the privilege of growing up in a normal home. I grew up in a broken home. Therefore, I know how immensely valuable it is to have a home. I had the great blessing of a loving mother, a noble mother, and she filled my universe. And whatever I did throughout the time she was alive and down to this day was done in order to make her happy and now to keep her memory honored. This commitment to my mother, to honoring my mother, gave me the impetus, the sense of direction, the motivation, the keenness to make the best use of my potential, my talent, my time. Now, what happens if you are not willing to honor your father and your mother? Now, unknown to yourself, you will develop what psychologists call a low self-worth. After all, your parents are the earthly sources of your life. Now, you can't be better than your source. So, if you despise the very source of your life, you cannot but despise yourself. And it's incredible how many young people, and I know them personally, how many young people are actually living in self-revulsion. And it's only to cover up this inner reality of not being able to love and cherish oneself that people go into all kinds of things. For example, I have studied the psychology of those who want to show off or those who want to draw attention to themselves, and have come invariably to the conclusion that in each case, the person concerned was smarting under the pain of low self-worth. Now, one of the main contributory factors to this low self-worth is the inability to love and honor one's parents. It's not happened to you. Love your parents. They are the sources of your life. And loving them, you will love your own life. Loving your life, you'll be able to take care of your own life. See you soon.